Michael, Yahoo, AOL, and eBay certainly aren't the leaders any longer, but if you look at the triumvirate, if you will, of Google, Apple, and Facebook, you have to ask, which of those would you bet on?
Good morning, Eric, Stephanie. Good to be here with you. No, I think the 90s were very much a dress rehearsal for what this stage has, presents itself today for the companies you mentioned. And obviously, besides the triumvirate that you talked about, there's also Microsoft that is utterly changing its game plan as well.
I'm amazed that you would still mention Microsoft in the same breath, though, as Facebook, Apple, and Google.
Well, I do, because Microsoft has had a sea change in its attitude and its approach to the business. With Satya's new leadership over the last year or so, the company has, by necessity, changed from being a dominant leader to being to playing a very horizontal game. So and make sure that its products and services are available on every platform.
All right, well,
obviously Google and Android.
They've got a whole new attitude at Microsoft, but not whole new results. So when are we going to see that change?
Great question, Stephanie. I think that these are multi-year plays. Is the honest answer. So I don't think you see anything imminent in the next. In the short term, but I think over the next 2 or 3 years, it remains. It is an open game. We are still in the beginning innings of the commercialization of the internet, where in the 90s we had maybe 100 million people in the mid-90s that could access internet. Today, you're looking at a global market that's over 2 billion smartphones. 2/3 of the internet is global, is overseas. It's not even in the United States. English is no longer the leadership language in many parts of the world for this. So the companies that we're talking about, the Facebooks, the Googles, the Apples, have to play an utterly global game. And between Google and Apple, it's a global ping-pong game, and the battle is for developers. As Steve Ballmer of Microsoft said very famously, it's all about developers, 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 and that's what Google is setting up for this week with its I/O conference. And literally in a few days, you have Apple on June 8th with their 2015 WWDC conference.
All right. Well, we're always trying to read those Apple tea leaves, figure out exactly what they're doing. Announced yesterday, Johnny Ive getting a new job, a promotion, but a job that didn't exist anymore. To say, well, now he's the chief design officer, I don't know, if you asked me last week, I probably would have said, sure, I guess that's his title. So how is this a big change at Apple?
No, I think it's an evolution. I mean, it's been 4 years since we saw the demise, sad demise of Steve Jobs. A lot of initial questions in the first year or two in terms of the management team, Tim Cook, Johnny, etc., if they're up to the game. And I think right now the company, the executive ranks, can take a little bit of a deep breath because they are in a better place than they've been in a very long time. The company is on its way. It's one of the most valuable companies on earth. It's on its way potentially to being the first $1 trillion company. They've had significant product launches in the iPhone 6 and 6 Plus last year, the Apple Watch this year. There's a number of things in the offing, and so. With Johnny, the one thing that has, this is the announcement yesterday to me was just another data point in the continuum of his role of being truly the chief design officer of Apple. In fact, the last few weeks he's been in the media. I think Bloomberg did a wonderful interview. He's been in the media on. Showing the work he's been doing with the Apple Campus, the new Apple Campus, which is the spaceship logo, and he's very involved in the design of that, along with all of Apple's products.
Michael, it was a couple of years ago.
And the other thing that I think that just says, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, a couple of years ago, Eric Schmidt from Google was here, and we were talking about his 4 horsemen, Amazon, Apple, Google, and Facebook. And the question then was whether Twitter would evolve into a platform that could become the 5th horseman. Right now, it seems like there's no chance Twitter is going to evolve into that company. Its growth has begun to flatline, and there's some serious questions about its strategy.
And what's crazy is people use Twitter in such a massive way, but their management can't seem to monetize it.
So, Michael, you know Anthony Noto, the CFO. You worked with him very closely at Goldman Sachs. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, you might have even hired the guy. Can he fix what's broken at Twitter?
Well, he's got a very important role at Twitter, obviously. He's in the time that he's been on, he's taken on additional responsibilities beyond the CFO role, marketing, and he's also a very key part of the executive team, which has had a fair number of changes, especially on the product side, in terms of communicating with investors, with Wall Street. And again, Twitter is one of those companies that I think absolutely has a tremendous amount of potential. There is no question the amount of impact it's had globally on the media landscape, the voice it's provided to not just dozens or hundreds of professionals like the early media companies had done in the cable era, but today literally hundreds of thousands of professionals get a voice via Twitter. So the monetization question is a critical piece, and I think they're still trying to figure out a way to get to mainstream adoption.